Hello everyone. So I'm logging into all of the different sites. Once I get, there we go, got Facebook Live going. I've got, I believe, YouTube and Periscope, I believe, are up. Let me double check Twitch. Let's see, make sure I'm up on Twitch. This is pretty fun. So I've got the chat. Yep, I'm up on Twitch. I've got the chat to where everybody can see what everybody's talking about now over here in the little corner, as you see. So this will be pretty cool. Let me make certain we're up on Periscope, and then I'll check on YouTube. We are up on Periscope. So hello Periscope, hello Twitch, and we are live on YouTube. How awesome is this? We have got all of these different cool things happening. Let me see what's going on. Good morning. And I have, and if you're on Discord, you can interact there. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So today we are going to talk about, I don't know why the chat is being weird like this. Hello. Chat, 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 chat. Yes, we are all there. So we've got the comments that kind of pop on and go. So you can actually talk to me on Periscope, on YouTube, on Discord, Facebook. I haven't got it seamlessly into there just yet, but you can also talk to me on Twitch as well. So all of these different avenues to be able to discuss all the science things with me. So I hope you guys are having a great morning. So for this particular episode, we are going to talk about allergies, the science of allergies. So the thing that, the reason why I went with this particular topic, this has been on the polls for at least a month, and it's 1 second every single time. And so after I went to NASA, I said, I will cover allergies. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so that's my really cool intro that Gonna Go For It, aka Peter, made for me. And so, allergies, what are we going to do with this today? What I'm going to talk about is, what are they? What are the types? How does this happen? The treatments, and how do these particular treatments work? So oftentimes, we hear all of these different things about, oh, you know, we got histamine blockers, we got allergies. Good morning, everyone. And so we've got all of this stuff that's going on, and people are just like, I feel like I'm dying all the time. You know, they're like, nature is horrible. So I thought I'd give you a little bit of insight as to what allergies are, what is actually going on in your body, how these treatments work that we can take in order to do that, what doesn't work. We can talk a bit about that. And essentially, what are your best chances of handling allergies? Because, you know, it's pretty icky sometimes. I suffer quite a few. So what are allergies essentially? Well, it's an immune response to anything with a protein signature. And you're like, what? You're like, yeah, so essentially anything that has any kind of protein on the outside of it can potentially interact with our immune system, and our immune system freaks out, and therefore it's like, let me go get this pollen grain, let me go get this leaf here, you know, let me go get this little thing, and I'm gonna attack it and we're going to eat it, and we're going to make everything better. And so that's kind of what the immune system does in regard to allergies. So what exactly does this mean? All right, so our immune system is absolutely amazing at recognizing foreign proteins and targeting them to prevent us from becoming ill. So we get colds, bacterial infections, things like that. Now, to just give you a bit of insight as to how important our immune system is, if we look at people who are HIV infected and they're not able to keep the viral load under control, they can develop acquired immune deficiency syndrome, where their immune system is suppressed. There's a reason why the elderly people get sick often. There's a reason why people who have HIV tend to get sick, as well as cancer patients. Their immune system is suppressed, and so their bodies are more prone to different types of viral infections, including bacterial and other types of cancer. So, our immune system is absolutely amazing at keeping us healthy and stopping foreign bodies and foreign invaders from making us sick. So sometimes our immune system is so hypersensitive that it overreacts to things that are not infectious but have that protein signature. So anything that's on this planet that's made from living things can potentially be an allergen. So that's the bad news. The good news is not everything is going to initiate that type of response. However, we are all highly individual. For example, if you're curious about the types of how you determine what your allergens and potential allergens are, you can go to an allergist and they'll do the little pinprick test. They can do it on your back or they can do it on your arm, and they'll poke little bits of the different types of allergens. And determining how large of a bump there is there for a reaction, that lets them know whether or not you are allergic to a particular thing. So for me, I'm allergic to trees, grass, dog and cat dander. I think I'm not so much allergic to dog saliva like I used to be. I'm allergic to dust, cigarette smoke, secondhand or otherwise, increases my particular risk for asthma as well as allergic responses. So if you have allergies and you smoke, if you stop smoking, it will lower your risk of being hypersensitive to your allergies. I do not have any food allergies. Food allergies are a bit different and they can't be treated with Benadryl or allergy shots. It's a different type of mechanism. But I did for about a month develop a hypersensitivity to certain types of food. I cut those foods out for about 2 weeks and it was fine. So, super hypersensitive immune system here. Every food chemical triggers mine. Yes. It's kind of crappy how that, how our bodies kind of work with that. And, I've been curious to see on whether or not there's a link of hypersensitivity of immune systems for allergies and how that kind of links to autoimmune disorders. I'm not entirely certain. But, hey, that could be a thing. So here's an example of what our immune system is supposed to do. Oh, sorry, went the wrong way. The immune system targets invaders, and sometimes it can overreact to pollen, dander, and dust. So here we have a white blood cell that's hunting down this bacteria, and then it swallows it up, and then inside that particular white blood cell, a whole battery of attacks happen on the bacterial cell to where it completely causes that cell to lyse. Now, if you've ever noticed, if you've gotten a cut or something like that and developed a bacterial infection, that green pus stuff, that's your dead white blood cells. That's what pus is. So this is how our immune system is supposed to work. So if you have a hypersensitive immune system, it's going to see pollen and all of these other types of allergens as potentially harmful. And so it's going to be like, I'm going to get them. And, they're a bit trigger happy, so to speak. So you're kind of like, okay, calm down, immune system. It's just pollen. It's just pollen. So yeah, we just started, so it's okay. It's okay. So it's essentially a hyperimmune system. That's what we're looking at here. So what are the types of allergies? We have a tissue monster here. If you're like me, you have a tissue monster probably in your car, in a plastic bag. I think I just told on myself. For me, I have to take antihistamines in addition to Sudafed and Excedrin if I want to get through any particular season. I have what's called perennial allergies. They're seasonal, perennial, food. Then you have all kinds of animal stuff. You have dust plants. Eczema is a type of allergy, as well as medication. So you have all of these different ways of anything with a protein signature interacting with you and causing some kind of immune response. So that's what we're looking at in regards to the different types of allergies. So what does that mean for us? Go get them white blood cells. Yes! They are on top of their stuff, man. So, really good website you can check out if you're wanting to learn more information. It's very user-friendly, and they keep up to date with all the latest information in regard to allergy, asthma, and immunology, and that's the American College of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology. Fear not. I have links at the end of this broadcast, and I post all of my slides on scientistmail.com. So if you want to pull those slides down for yourself, go for it. Then you can go and investigate further and say, is Scientist Mail full of it? And then you can go look. And then if you have further questions, if you dig a bit further and you have further questions for me, send me a message on Twitter, on Discord, on Twitch, on Facebook, any of these different avenues. I'm available to you to answer your questions. So the American College of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology, they say that asthma and allergic diseases are common for all ages in the U.S. Now, asthma affects over 24 million people in the U.S. alone, with more than 6 million of those being children. Now, as it is, it's actually the 6th leading cause of chronic illness in the U.S., and it has about an annual cost of over $18 billion. So $18 billion is spent every year on allergies and asthma. So more than 50 million Americans suffer from allergies each year. Now, what we call hay fever is often called that, but what it's actually called technically is allergic rhinitis. You know, anytime you see R-H-I-N, that means the nose. Think of rhino, because that's, you know, kind of where we get it. So allergic rhinitis is an exceedingly common thing that we see. It has the cold-like symptoms that we see associated with allergies: sneezing, stuffy nose, runny nose, watery eyes, the itchy nose, eyes, and even the roof of your mouth. Which is, it's kind of funny because I like bananas, and from time to time I get the itchy mouth from eating bananas, but I don't, it's not often. So that's kind of where this transitional hypersensitive immune system, it can come and go. So sometimes by eliminating a particular allergen, your body can be like, okay, we'll stop overreacting now. So with allergic rhinitis, you have what's called seasonal or perennial. Now, seasonal allergic rhinitis can occur year-round except for late fall and winter. So you don't see the allergies for late fall, all of winter. It's primarily just spring and summer and early fall. Now, this particular type of seasonal allergies we see that's the trees, grass, weed, pollen. Now, sometimes even mold spores can generate, allergies, because mold still has protein signatures. Now, this perennial allergic rhinitis, which is something that I usually have, gives symptoms year-round, even late fall, all the way through winter, and is caused by sensitivity to house dust mites animal dander, cockroaches, and it can include mold spores. Now, something that you should note, food allergies rarely cause any type of those nasal symptoms that we see with perennial or seasonal allergies. Now, allergic rhinitis, there's various treatments you can go with. You can either just avoid those particular triggers, those allergens altogether. You can eliminate or decrease your exposure to them. Or you can use various types of medication and immunotherapy, also called allergy shots. Now, certain medications and immunotherapy don't really work for food allergies, and that's because it has a slightly different mechanism. But these allergy shots, this immunotherapy, it's actually very good for these hay fever symptoms, whether it's perennial or seasonal. And what that does is about 85% of people have a reduced amount of symptoms associated with these allergy shots. Now, what's interesting to note, from 1997 to 2011, we have seen an increase in food and skin allergies in children under 18 years old. The National Health Interview Survey, also known as NHIS, says about 8.4% of children in the U.S. under the age of 18 suffered from hay fever during this time. 10% had actual respiratory allergies, and where a smaller amount, 5.4%, were food allergies, and about 11.6% were from skin allergies. So we're seeing this increased amount of allergies as the years go by. The messages are coming in faster. 18 billion, that is a lot. That's a huge amount of people. So potential allergies. You're like, well, what about it? What can actually be an allergy for me? Well, you know, there are rare allergies, but anything with protein. Anything with protein on the outside of it that your immune system can recognize is going to be a potential allergen. You read that some food allergies can be moderated by a change in gut bacteria. Do you agree? Well, there are some symptoms that would be considered with, that some people would consider a food allergy, when in reality it's just an imbalance of the beneficial gut bacteria. So sometimes that's something that's confusing for individuals. I've known people who have had like IBS symptoms, and IBS symptoms are very similar to those with milk allergies, gluten allergies, things like that. So you eat a particular thing and it feels like your guts are being ripped out, and that's every single time. That can be a food allergy, or it can be IBS. And changing the bacteria in your gut to where you have the more beneficial bacteria, if you're able to do that, and you can do that from different supplements that you can actually purchase. And if you get those supplements, just as a pro tip here, put them in the refrigerator. They'll last a bit longer, and it'll keep that bacteria a bit more active. You don't necessarily want it sitting out on your counter. That could potentially lower the activity of the bacteria. So if you do buy the gut bacterial supplements, which are good, especially if you have IBS. Now, it's important, IBS is not the same as a food allergy. I would not recommend, if you have a food allergy, I would not recommend taking those supplements and then introducing your foods you're allergic to back into your diet. That's not really a good idea without actually contacting and getting involved with your doctor. Oh, that's what the conclusion that the peer review on it came to. Well, that's cool. I'm glad I'm thinking along the same lines. So yeah, and so until we get more research, and IBS is still kind of relatively new, so until we get more research, if you are diagnosed with IBS, it is a good idea to take the bacterial supplements. Those can help alleviate a lot of those symptoms. And if you remove that food from your diet for a while introducing this gut bacteria until you get that shift, that's a good idea too. And then if you have IBS, not food allergies, introduce that food back into your diet after you've actually been taking those bacterial supplements for a while. And there is evidence to show, ladies, if you have issues with pH changes in your lady bits downstairs, also known as your vagina, it's a good idea to actually try to incorporate yogurt into your diet, because those particular bacteria associated with the cultures in yogurt can help regulate bodily pH, which is also a good thing, and increase the bacteria in your gut. That was a that was a trick question. I know my stuff. You guys have to know I prepare really hard. I woke up like at 6 this morning. I wake up every morning on Saturday at 6 a.m. or so and start working on the show just for you guys. So I think it through. And a bit of that anatomy and pathophysiology is helping me out. All right, so what we have to do at this point is kind of understand what it is about what happens on the cellular level when we're looking at food allergies. So I'm going to pop this little picture up here, and then I'm going to remove myself so you can kind of see. So here we have the actual allergy mechanism. So don't get scared. These look like big scary pictures, but it's all right. So what we have here is a B cell. So this is an immune cell right here, like a white blood cell. And what happens is the allergen can activate this B cell, and this B cell goes into this mode going, oh my God, we're being invaded. And so it immediately starts making these antibodies. IgE is a type of antibody. All right, so once this allergen activates this B cell, it turns into what's called a plasma cell and starts making all these antibodies. Well, then these antibodies hop over to this mast cell. Well, guess what's inside this mast cell? Our friend histamine, not really our friend, not for those of us who suffer allergies. And so then these antibodies attach to the mast cell. This is with initial introduction of an allergen. And now this particular mast cell is perfectly primed for the next time you're introduced to that tree pollen. It comes in, attaches to those little antibodies on the outside, and that triggers this mast cell to release that stuff called histamine. And then that histamine causes the inflammation, the runny nose, the watery eyes, the itching. That's what this does. Histamine, it makes us absolutely miserable. So that's a little bit of that. IgE reactive to dozens of foods, and my histamine levels are through the roof. Yes. So that IgE will attach to that mast cell on the outside, kind of like an antenna. That's kind of what receptors do. They're like little antennas. And so what happens is the next time that particular allergen comes into your body, it attaches to those mast cells, and then they go, and then histamine all through the place. We're sneezing, we have the watery eyes, we have, the nasty, gross nose, and we're just like, ah! So that's exactly what happens every time. Gosh, you're an antihistamina. Well, there's a reason why they call it antihistamines. And guess what? I'm going to talk about it too. You have urushiol, and we almost have all of that one. Yeah, that's your allergy. Oh my goodness. It's pretty rough. Allergies are not very nice things to have. So this histamine is a chemical that those mast cells release that cause all of these symptoms. Now, the bad news is histamine in itself cannot be stopped right now with our current medical technology, cannot be stopped from being released by your cells. So one common treatment you may have heard of is this use of antihistamines. So what do they do? What do these antihistamines actually do? So some of you might hear these histamine blockers, antihistamines. You hear this word often, but a lot of people don't understand what it is they actually do. So here I have a cartoon. So remember, I've talked a lot about mast cells ban histamine. You still need it sometimes, you know. Still need it sometimes as an immune response for actual problematic things. So, the antihistamine pantomime, what scientists smell. You know, I could use action figures. Maybe I'll pull out my action figures, and we have Boba Fett and Thor. You know, we could do histamine play with Boba Fett and Thor. You know, that'd be kind of cool. So essentially, what happens is the mast cell is going to be activated, and it releases the histamine into your system. So here we have these little blue umbrella looking things. That's what's called histamine. Now, how histamine works is it interacts with the receptors on cells. So if you look over in this picture, we have a nerve cell, and then we have this little thing that looks like a bird foot that has the little 3-prong on there. That histamine can normally attach to there into your cell receptors, and that's what causes that series of chemical reactions that give us that particular response. And so we're just like the runny nose, the watery eyes. That's because those receptors have been fired off. Your eyeball receptors are like, oh my God, we're being invaded. Your nose receptors are like, we're being invaded, because the histamine is causing that particular response. You remember, you have your receptor, and then here we have the incoming message in the form of histamine, and then it starts off these series of chemical reactions that give us these cold-like symptoms. So what does antihistamine do? It gets on top of those receptors and says, not today, Satan. And so that's essentially what it does. It blocks histamine from hopping onto those receptors and initiating all of those chemical changes. So what we do in this case is we take these antihistamines that preemptively attach to those receptors to prevent them from firing off constantly. This is why sometimes if you have the runny nose and the watery eyes and stuff like that, you might take an antihistamine, but it might not work for a while because your body has already got that fired off because the histamine has already popped on those receptors. That's why it's important to kind of preemptively take antihistamines to have those receptors blocked in advance to where you don't have a reaction, especially if you know you're going to be out and about in an area that's going to make you sneeze a lot. So that's one of the ways to kind of go against that. There you guys are. Hey, turtle. Hello. So what do we do? What do we do about this? So just to kind of sum up everything I just said, antihistamines prevent histamine from interacting with those receptors on your body. All right, so let's say, let me find something. I can do pantomime. Let's say I have, and I'm going to just tick off like 90% of the geeks here. Let's say we have, this is your cell, all right? The Enterprise is your cell. All right, now Enterprise is prone to dinosaur attacks for some reason in this universe. Let's say this is histamine, and it's going to cause havoc on this particular on your cells. So we have this incoming space dinosaur that's going to hop over and get on your Enterprise and eat it. But fear not, because now we have antihistamine Boba Fett who's sitting here, and he's just like, hey, check this out, man. Not today, dinosaur. I already beat you to it, and so I'm going to totally like protect the Enterprise. So the dinosaur is the histamine, and it can no longer attack the Enterprise because guess what? Boba Fett is guarding it. That's how histamine kind of works. Just because somebody was like, pantomime. I have actually explained CRISPR with Star Wars figures. So that's not unlike me to do that. But yes, we had like 3 different fandoms: Jurassic Park, Boba Fett, and Star Trek all together to explain antihistamines. Where else would you see that? Probably nowhere on YouTube. Doctor Who? Well, you know what? I could bring out my sonic screwdriver. I do have a sonic screwdriver. Perhaps, you know, the sonic screwdriver is the antihistamine that blocks the dinosaurs from attacking the Enterprise. That could be, this could be our immunotherapy, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. So, I'm strange like that sometimes. I use action figures. I have used action figures in my classroom when I was teaching in the past and we were explaining things, and for whatever reason it worked. So if you're prone to allergies, it's a good idea to regularly take your Boba Fett, also known as antihistamines, to maintain the presence of these histamine blockers in order to prevent the allergy symptoms from this histamine, known as the green dinosaur. The T-Rex, Jurassic Park, right? That was probably one of the strangest ones I've ever done, you know, in regard to explaining science with action figures. So immunotherapy, allergy shots. People are like, well, what about allergy shots? How do those work? Well, it's slow introduction of a particular allergen into your body to kind of increase your immune system's tolerance to it. So what does that mean exactly? You're like, what the heck is this about? Well, here it is. So when we're talking about immune shots, or these immunotherapy, the allergy shots, it worked. You'll never forget. Boba Fett is an antihistamine. The Enterprise are your nerve cells, and dinosaurs are the histamines released by the mast cells, also known as Jurassic Park. But Boba Fett will protect your Enterprise from the space dinosaurs. So similar to vaccines, now we're back on immunotherapy, aka allergy shots. Similar to vaccines, allergy shots slowly introduce these allergens you have an immune response with that are associated with allergic rhinitis. I should make it plain, this isn't food allergies, medicine, nothing like that. This is associated with the nose stuff, all right? Seasonal, perennial, dog dander, stuff like that that give you the cold-like symptoms. And what it does is it increases the body's tolerance by being regularly exposed to it. Now, the immune system over time will stop being so hypersensitive to these allergens. Now, this particular method is not currently effective for food or medicinal allergies. And there is no effective treatment for food allergies outside of just avoiding those allergens altogether. Just avoid those foods. So, oh my goodness. I'm glad you guys liked my introduction of the my introduction of the action figures to explain histamine. Paging William Shatner, you guys are funny. So let's take a moment to talk about a scary thing called anaphylactic shock, also known as anaphylaxis. It sounds like a really cool name, like you would see from a sci-fi film. And here comes Dr. Anaphylaxis from the planet Gregon, you know, or something like that, where she studied such and such, you know. I kind of see Dr. Anaphylaxis as a woman space explorer of some sort from maybe another planet. But it's a cool name, but it's not a cool thing to have. If you have what seems to be an allergic reaction to a particular stimulus, but it doesn't always repeat itself, even when conditions are the same, is it actually an allergy? It can be. Because I mentioned before, I became hypersensitive to a series of foods, not just one or two. I was hypersensitive to a series of foods. And I went to an official allergist because for some reason, okay, I have been able to eat strawberries, corn, soy my entire life. But for 1 month, I would try to eat. I would eat a salad with dressing, popcorn, strawberries, any kind of berry like that, and even peanut butter. For whatever reason, my throat felt like it was swelling up. It felt like somebody had punched me in the back. I was itching all over. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And so after like the second or third week of that, I went to the allergist and he gave me like the pinprick. And when he did that, I went home. I had an immediate reaction after a few hours to where it felt like my throat was closing and I started to freak out. So I had to go and I called the allergist and they had me come back and they gave me a medication and had me sit in the office and they watched me to make certain I was okay. Never been allergic to that before, but for whatever reason, for a period of time, I had developed a hypersensitivity to it. I have a random allergy to bananas. Sometimes it comes and goes, but I know it's that because my mouth itches. I get the mouth and the weird throat thing. It doesn't happen every time, but sometimes it does. So you can still have an allergy and just have varying degrees of sensitivity to it. Now, when it gets scary is when it's a system-wide response to an allergen. Now, what happens with anaphylaxis? So we have here another version of the mast cell releasing the histamine, that fancy word called inflammatory mediators. All that is histamine. That's all that is. But in some people, this histamine triggers a series of chemical reactions throughout your body when a certain allergen initiates that. Now, this chemical chain reaction can be lethal. It is kind of rare, but it can be lethal for certain allergen triggers. So if you have and we see it a bit more with like bee stings and food and food allergies and stuff like that. My brother is allergic to eggs and chicken. It's weird. He's allergic to eggs and chicken. And here's an interesting thing. When he was little, he could eat chicken nuggets. All right? He could eat chicken nuggets when he was little. He loved it. His favorite thing was chicken nuggets. When he got older, he started to develop an allergy to that. But he could eat eggs still. All right? So he could eat eggs. So he developed an allergy to poultry. But he was still able to eat eggs. Then the rest of it kicked in. He's now allergic to everything poultry and eggs to the point it causes anaphylaxis. He has to carry an EpiPen. So your body can develop various stages of hypersensitivity, which is kind of weird. That's not real chicken. No buffering issue here. Yay! And just so you know, guys, I did up my to the highest level of broadband as possible. And just as an aside, if you're a science communicator, a content creator for science, I want your stuff because I'm going to start the 24/7 live stream where people can go and have constant interaction with each other through various avenues of chat, venues of chat, and see any of my shows along with other people's shows, and I will have a schedule for that. So yay! The kids are sucking up the bandwidth. That's the way it goes sometimes. So let's have a look at what anaphylaxis looks like. So this poor fella over here, he's knocked out. But it looks like he's sitting up still. So maybe he's in a chair. And then he can develop hives, swelling of your tongue, inability to swallow, rapid swelling of throat tissues. This is all part of it. Could it be the cause of random allergy to foods like banana and strawberries be caused by certain chemicals used in the agricultural industry? I don't necessarily think that's the case because your response to these particular things rely on your immune system recognizing proteins. So unless, I don't know of any research that's been done that's associated with pesticides and allergies. I haven't heard of any correlation between the two of those. But I do know my particular family history, given that my brother has food allergies. My sister has a type of autoimmune disease of sorts, and so she's prone to all kinds of allergies. Her body is hypersensitive. And then I have perennial allergies. It would not be, too far-fetched, especially if you have a family history of allergies, to have things come and go. It's just, you just look at genetics. If you have a whole bunch of family members that have particular things associated with the immune system, that would be where I would look first. Look at the family history. What is that like? Is there autoimmune disorders in your family? Are there lots of eczema, allergies, and stuff like that? So, if you have anaphylaxis going on, you need to seek medical attention immediately. EpiPens should be on hand. Now, you've probably heard a lot about EpiPens, and you're probably like, EpiPens this, EpiPens that. We hear it all in the news, and what exactly is an EpiPen? Not everybody knows. My brother has one laying around that he keeps with him. So, what is an EpiPen and what does it do? So, this is what people use if they're undergoing anaphylactic shock. It contains epinephrine. Epinephrine is related to that fight or flight response that we have if we're like being chased by a bear. You're either going to fight the bear or you're going to run, right? Oh my goodness. So it's like, so that epinephrine can kick in. What it does is it reverses those anaphylaxis symptoms. So that histamine releases. It causes your veins and your arteries to constrict. It causes stuff to swell. You have a hard time breathing. You can lose consciousness. It drops your blood pressure. So what this does is this opens up your blood vessels. This opens up your breathing pathways. It raises your blood pressure. Now, it's still imperative, even if you have the EpiPen, that you go to the doctor. You still need medical attention. Just in case. Yeah, EpiPens, from what I've seen, they do hurt, but they are lifesavers. Now, what's interesting to note is that the cost of the EpiPen has risen 400% since 2007. And so there's been a lot of talk in the news about EpiPens and other types of critical medications that are needed for people to live, especially those with suppressed immune systems. So it's kind of important that we have this dialogue, that people understand that EpiPens are essential, especially for individuals who have hypersensitivity in lethal immune responses to various things, including bee stings and bananas and things like that, in a short shelf life, yeah? So we need to have open dialogue about being able to have affordable medications for individuals with these life-threatening types of conditions. So I do kind of try to talk about that a bit. So what have we talked about today? What is an allergy? It's an immune response to anything with a protein signature, and it tends to be hyperactive. So here we've got representation of our immune cells. There's the B cell going, oh my gosh, it's coming to get us. And we're like, well, you know what? I'm going to get it, and now I'm releasing this histamine to let everybody else know we have this invader. That's essentially what allergies are. Anything with a protein signature on the outside of it that can cause or initiate an immune response is potentially an allergen. Treatments are available for most of these types of symptoms, and it is exceedingly common. So if you have allergies, don't worry, you're not the only one. There's a lot of us that do. My mom carries one. She's allergic to bees and anything that stings or bites for the most part, although she only gets out for groceries. Not much of a problem anymore, yeah. So what have we talked about today? We have talked about what allergies are, what the types are, how they happen, the treatments, and how do those particular treatments work. So if you do suffer from allergies, it's a good idea to try to find an antihistamine that works for you, not necessarily one that makes you sleepy, but, maybe that coordinated. I take Zyrtec. I like Zyrtec. So I take Zyrtec, and I take Sudafed, and I take Excedrin, as not all of the time, but when I know that it's super hyper, pollen time. I walk outside and it looks like my car is like yellow from all the pollen. I'm like, I'm going to go back inside and take my Zyrtec, Sudafed, and Excedrin. That's my sinus cocktail of sorts. because I get the stuffy sinuses and then I get the runny nose. So that is kind of preemptively getting me going, ah. So there you go. So if you have questions or anything like that, you can find me just about anywhere. So I'm going to show you my sources, and you'll be like, I can't read all that. You know what? That's all right. That's all right. I'm going to put these all on my website, and you can go to scientistsmell.com and download it. Download these particular slides. Go on scientistsmell.com/resources, and then you can download my slides and click on these. XYZAL works good, but it's like $14 pill. See, I usually wait until the patent runs out, and then I buy the generic. That's what I do. But there's a lot of information. The ACAAI.org, that's the American College of Asthma, Allergies, and Immunology. So that website is awesome in regard to all of your allergy needs and information. So I must take a moment to thank my patrons. If you're on my Patreon account, patreon.com/scientistsmell, they start at $1 a month. And because of my patrons, I'm going to be able to do a 24/7 live stream with a dedicated computer to not only have my content, but any other science communicator as well. If they want to have their stuff going 24/7, I'm going to have a dedicated computer just for that. So thank you, Tony, James, Lauren, Jen, Carl, Melanie, Patrick, Daniel, Stephen, Paula, Tim, Carrie, Cersei, Keith, Zachary, Tony, Bo, Sarah, Graham, Dragnot, Godless Iowan, Jennifer, Corey, and Heavy. You help me do what I do here. Your contributions have gotten me new lights, gotten me a new camera. I have a green screen that I'm going to start incorporating soon. I have to play around with it. I've been able to get things. I was able to go on the NASA social trip and stream the entire time. I've been able to do all of these things, have a website, and now we're going to have a dedicated 24/7 live stream just for science content and the stuff that I produce, as well as other science communicators. This is exciting and it's wonderful. And if you can buy me a coffee every month, it's $1. If not, you can hit me up on PayPal for a one-time contribution to help me continue my science efforts. And so you can find me everywhere on the internet, because NASA, that's right. Histamine reaction from formic acid. I have to look that up. I don't know about that. Try saying all those names in one breath. So you can find me everywhere on the internet. I'm now on Twitch as well, and I have a Discord. So if you're on my Discord, you're able to talk to me there. All of the, I'm also incorporating all of the different streaming formats as far as the chats onto the 24/7 live stream. So you'll be able to see what people are talking about and kind of interact with them even on that level. So hit me up on my website, scientistsmell.com. You can email me through there. There's my Patreon, Periscope, YouTube, and I am on Facebook, as well as Twitch and Discord. Woohoo! It's online mail. If it's online mail is on it, yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. So that has been the science of allergies. I hope you've enjoyed this. I love being able to spend my Saturday mornings with you guys talking science. This is a lot of fun. I need a you now. I don't even know what that is. I'm just having an allergic reaction to the universe. I thought this was pretty freaking funny. I don't even know what it's from. That's how out of touch I am. But I thought it was pretty funny because that feels like me sometimes. Yes, you can join my Discord, and I'm so glad you guys enjoyed this. Now, I will post the next poll for the next topic. I know it's been a few weeks because I was at NASA one weekend. Then I talked about NASA last weekend. And then this week I was like, allergies, because it won. It didn't win. It was like second place for 3 weeks in a row. I'm like, it's time. It's time. See, is there a connection between allergies and autoimmune disease and stress hormones? See, I want to kind of look into that myself. I've actually done an episode a long time ago on autoimmune disease, but it was in an older format, in the older format where I was literally holding up pieces of paper like this. That's how we started. with meager means of me holding. I didn't have fancy slides like I did before. I literally held up pieces of paper as my actual slides. Oh, this was on sci-fi, the science of sci-fi. You know, so I have so many of these still left. But, you know, but this was early on. So I did a show on autoimmune disease, but it might be worth going back and doing an episode like this that has more information with the new questions. Wasps, wow. So popping the chat up here. Reactions to the stings or bites endured by the allergic affected occur by way of formic acid. Oh, there you go. Thank you for that. I should sell them on eBay. my little handwritten things. They're pretty funny. I have a lot of them. They're kind of spread out all over the place. And I used to not have a backdrop like this. I used to sit on my couch over here, and that's how I talk. And I'm like, I want to do this. Please don't throw those away. Okay, I won't. I think they're in giant piles. I would just like, okay, I'm done with this show, and I just put it in a pile. So there's stuff around if you want them. Let me see if I can put them together in some kind of manageable stack, and then we can go through them and see what's going on with them. Wouldn't that be funny? Oh my goodness. But yeah, Science to Smell. The early days where I did that. Okay, Owen will message me, and I'll see what I can do to at least get you screens, pictures of them or something. We'll sort something out. A pile for everything and everything in a pile. That is very accurate, and usually how I organize things for the show. I have my pile of books for my things, and then I have my action figures I use to explain things, and then I have my pile of other things, you know, the things I need all the time, the things I need sometimes, the things I don't need so much. Usually there's at least 3 piles. The things I don't need so much, the things I never need, the things I use sometimes, and the things I use all the time. That's how we segregate our piles, right? Your desk and a lab. Desk and lab, a pile 4. I do have piles in my lab where I work. But I've tried to get better about it. I'm like, here's my textbooks pile. I actually have my textbooks at the lab. Pile for stuff and a pile for things. That's exactly right. A pile for stuff and things here and there. So if you guys didn't watch Spirited Science, that was Thursday night, and we talked about Tesla. So that was a lot of fun. The Tesla talk was a lot of fun. We had Strike and Andy from the Strike channel on YouTube. So they actually do a lot of that. And I had Godless Iowan on. And I had Bauman on, and we sat around and we talked about Tesla, and I introduced the Tesla drink. So yeah, subscribe to me on YouTube. You segregate your piles by gravitational stability. Hate avalanching, yes. Right around my microwave, I have some that have questionable gravitational stability of former bills that I've gotten, and you know, and so I have my stack, and it's just like, what else can I add here to see, you know, before it falls over, you know? We test gravity all the time. At least where my bills are. How long will the bills stay up? So we've been on almost an hour. So do you guys have any questions or any comments or any ideas for topics for the future? Because all of my topics are viewer generated. You guys pick what it is that you want me to talk about. So if you have an idea for the show, you can message me anytime and let me know. If you yourself are a science communicator and you want to share some of your stuff on my channel, I'm going to dedicate a live stream just to 24/7 live streaming. And the only time it'll pause is when I'm actually live streaming on my channel. A pile that in my lockbox, fireproof. So I will have, I'm going to set up the permanent live stream this weekend, and I say permanent, but I use that term loosely, it will be a dedicated live stream. And so the only time that will pause is when I'm actually live, so people won't get confused. Is she live or is she not? Is she live? And then it'll let you know. If it's previously recorded, it will say so. So if it's, keep being awesome. Well, thank you, another freaking atheist. Bo asked a good question. Where was Bo's question? I didn't see that. I didn't see Bo's question. Huh. Where did your question go? Okay. So that way, if I am actually actively live streaming and it's not pre-recording, it will look something like this. If it is pre-recorded, it will say so in the frame with the show going previously recorded, and it will let you know, so you won't get confused. But I want to do that particular format. Is Mel live or is it Memorex? I want to do that for particular format because I have a chat window. It's where you guys will be able to contribute and talk at the same question. Oh, okay. If you are not allergic to wasp stings, why does it take an antihistamine? Why does taking an antihistamine pill sometimes help? Well, you can still have a reaction to a wasp sting. And as I had mentioned before, we can have various levels of reaction. That's why there's some people who are absolutely, horribly allergic to the point that it would kill them if they were stung by one. And there's some of us who just have mild reactions. So we can still have a reaction to a wasp sting without it technically being a substantial allergy. And so sometimes taking antihistamines can actually lessen how that feels and lessen your reaction in that regard. And sometimes, those creams, those types of creams we have for the bee stings and the wasp stings, that kind of lessens those symptoms as well because they also are antihistamines. So this is all stuff that you can kind of take into consideration. If, you're going to go out in the woods, it'd be a good idea just go ahead and take some antihistamines, especially if you're prone to allergies already. And what's really interesting is if you're going to a new area you've never been before, you might encounter all kinds of new pollen your body hasn't been exposed to. This is why sometimes you can go to a different area, never have had allergies, and all of a sudden you do. So different pollen presents a potential for us to have a response from our overreactive immune system sometimes. So I can go to certain areas and not have any allergies, and then where I live, I can have a lot of allergies. They don't bother you. Bald-faced hornets, the exception. You can be stunned by dozens of wasps or yellow jackets and pay it no mind. Not me. I don't want any of that. One time I stepped on a bee and my foot swelled up purple. That was not fun. I had to wear like a flip-flop. I was a kid. I haven't been stung by a bee in a while though. But yeah, so we can still have allergic responses to a degree and it not technically be an allergy all of the time. Oh gosh, you digged yellow jackets out of the ground for fishing bait? Oh my goodness. Not me, man. No. So remember, get plenty of Boba Fett, especially if you're going to go out to where there's potential of lots of release of dinosaurs in your body, also known as histamine. So take plenty of antihistamines, Boba Fett, before exposing yourself, because that way you're able to block those receptors in advance without it, so you have plenty of it in your system. So it's already blocking the histamine in advance, and it's attaching to those receptors to prevent that histamine receptor reaction that causes you to feel like crap on vacation, no less. Sometimes that happens then. Oh my goodness. Wasps are great bait for panfish and bass. I'm not really good at fishing. You would think I might be better at fishing, and I'm not. Boba Fett protects the Enterprise from space T-Rexes. That's right. That's exactly right. Boba Fett knows where Waldo is. I'm glad you guys enjoyed that. Well, I am going to hop off here because we're coming up on an hour. If you haven't subscribed to YouTube, check it out. If you know of other science communicators that want to get involved, send them my way. And if you're interested in being on my Spirited Science show, it's open to anyone who wants to learn. I'll have people that kind of are authorities in the particular topic. If not, if you're not an authority, but you're like, I want to learn about Katherine Johnson, be like, I got you. And then I'll give you an assignment and you'll read a little bit about it, and then you'll talk about what it is you learned while we share an adult beverage. And if you don't drink adult beverages, you can have water, tea, whatever you like. But it's meant to be fun, and it's meant to help engage people and get them to learn something new, something that they enjoy. So, yes, I will see you guys next time. So next Saturday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Look to the channels for the 24/7 live stream. I'm going to work on that this weekend and hopefully have little videos also thrown in there to let you know which episodes are coming up, so you don't know where you're at. That's okay. I'll have the lineup in the description, as well as little videos saying up next we have this, 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 and this. I hope to be working on that and get that done tomorrow. So, yay! I am so glad you guys enjoyed this. You have a super awesome Saturday. Thank you for being here. Sending squishy science hugs. See you next time.